As the legislative session carries on, hundreds of bills are being discussed by our state legislators. One bill in particular sticks out to UVA students, Senate Bill 1484. Carried by Senator Deeds, this bill makes it illegal to carry or possess a gun on the grounds of a state institution. We had the opportunity to speak to Senator Creigh Deeds, the patron, about the bill, as well as Delegate Nick Freitas, who opposed the bill in the House of Delegates, on their stance on the legislation. Senator Deeds, a Democrat from Charlottesville, is working together with UVA in response to the recent tragedy of gun violence on grounds on November 13th.
There were so many different levels of trauma for everybody in the community. And you think about everybody who was in class with those kids, the teachers that had them in class, the teacher that was on the bus, the kids that were on the bus, everybody that witnessed it, first responders that were there, people in the emergency room, people that woke up in Charlottesville to that news. I mean, everybody experienced trauma at some level.
The bill will make it a Class 1 misdemeanor to carry a firearm or explosive on the grounds of any state-owned college or university, and will allow university law enforcement to obtain search warrants for the suspicion of possessing a weapon in university buildings like dorms and university housing.
It shouldn't affect people in a negative way at all. It's already against the rules to have a firearm on the grounds or on university property. That's against the rules, but it's against the school rule. It also gives law enforcement the ability, when they find out or when they have a reasonable, articulable suspicion that somebody has a firearm on grounds, to maybe get a search warrant. So this gives law enforcement some important tools that might help them do a better job of protecting the community, and it creates consequences for people, and I think that's good.
However, this bill is not universally supported, and its equivalent was tabled in committee in the House of Delegates. We spoke to Delegate Nick Freitas, a Republican from Culpeper, who spoke out against the bill.
For me, it's conceptual. It's the idea that you're going to create an environment where you already have the authority to set up restrictions with respect to what can people carry or not carry on a college campus. The problem is that it's essentially impossible to enforce. And so whenever we look at legislation like this, what we're essentially doing is we're saying that, okay, if you're a concealed carry permit holder or if you're someone that is a responsible gun user, you can't carry. That's the only thing that we can essentially guarantee. And then we're providing this false sense of security that, okay, but now you're safer. And what we found in pretty much every instance when we do that, people have a false sense of security about what is actually going on their campus. And I don't think that makes anyone safer, especially when you don't have any sort of real mechanism to ensure the security that you're now supposedly giving people. If all of your rights or civil liberties are essentially forfeit or can be restricted the moment somebody misuses theirs, well, do you really have rights, or do you simply have privileges that can be granted or taken away from government at any point?
However, Delegate Freitas does have ideas for other legislation to protect the student body.
Well, first of all, when it comes to stricter penalties for people to commit acts of violence, because one of the things that we do see over time is that when people start committing acts of violence, a lot of times a very small percentage of the population commits a very large percentage of the acts of violence. And so the idea, that's what I think incarceration was for. We have a lot of debates on criminal justice reform, and I think when people have committed a crime where there is no victim, I am all about how do we reform that. But when someone shows a pattern of committing violent acts, those are the people that we should be targeting both for incarceration and rehabilitation. So that's something that I think could pass with some security. When it comes to increasing funding for things like campus security, that's something that I think that we could find broad-based agreement on. And when it comes to protecting people's individual ability to defend themselves, that's something that I think. And I think all three of those are far more likely to actually achieve the sort of security that we want, as opposed to what would essentially be a bigger sign that says gun-free zone.
For WUVA, this is Virginia Pillion.